The world watches, holding its breath as a new era unfolds. Gone are the days of a singular superpower, replaced by a planet seemingly splitting down the middle. On one side, the United States, its mighty military machine bolstered by the collective strength of NATO. On the other, a resurgent Russia, forged in the fires of its Soviet past, now finding a willing partner in a China hungry for its place on the world stage. The tension is palpable, a constant hum beneath the daily news cycle. Military exercises are scrutinized, diplomatic pronouncements dissected for hidden meanings. Each side accuses the other of aggression, each maneuver analyzed for its potential to tip the scales. This is not a clash of civilizations, not in the Huntingtonian sense, but a struggle for dominance in a world grappling with rapid change. The old order crumbles, and into the vacuum rush new anxieties, new possibilities, and the very real potential for catastrophic conflict. The stakes have never been higher. Any assessment of this global standoff must begin with the stark reality of military might. The United States, for decades the world's unchallenged superpower, still boasts a military apparatus unmatched in its global reach and technological sophistication. Carrier battle groups patrol the seas, stealth bombers pierce the skies, and a nuclear arsenal stands as the ultimate deterrent. NATO, though often criticized as a relic of the Cold War, adds significant weight to the balance. European allies, Canada and others bring to the table advanced weaponry, trained personnel and strategic geographic positioning, but Russia, under Putin's leadership, has been steadily rebuilding its own military capabilities. New generation tanks, hypersonic missiles, and a modernized nuclear triad all point to a nation determined to reclaim its former glory. And then there's China, its economic rise fueling a relentless military modernization program. Its navy, once a coastal defense force, now projects power far into the Pacific and beyond. Its cyber warfare capabilities are increasingly sophisticated, a silent threat in the digital age. The truth is, there are no guarantees in any potential conflict. The sheer destructive power at the disposal of both sides means that even a limited engagement could have devastating consequences. Beyond the raw numbers of troops and tanks lies a more complex reality. This is not simply an arms race, but a struggle for influence, for control of the narrative, for the very future of the international order. The United States, clinging to its role as the leader of the free world, continues to promote democracy and human rights, often backing those efforts with military force. NATO, though criticized for its interventions in places like Libya, remains a cornerstone of American foreign policy. Russia, under Putin, seeks to reassert its sphere of influence, particularly in its near abroad. The annexation of Crimea, support for separatists in Ukraine, and military interventions in Syria all speak to a Kremlin determined to restore Russia's standing on the world stage. China, meanwhile, is playing a longer game. Its Belt and Road Initiative, a massive infrastructure project spanning continents, is as much about geopolitical influence as it is about economics. Its growing military presence in the South China Sea and increasingly assertive stance towards Taiwan raise concerns about Beijing's ultimate ambitions. This is a game of chess, with each move carefully calculated for its impact on the global board. Alliances are forged and tested, economic leverage is wielded, and information itself becomes a weapon. The world watches and worries. Could this new Cold War turn hot? The potential flashpoints are numerous and perilous. A miscalculation in the skies over Syria, an escalation of tensions in the South China Sea, a cyber attack of unknown origin, any of these could spiral out of control. Some argue that direct conflict between these nuclear-armed powers is unthinkable, that the consequences are simply too catastrophic. They point to the numerous close calls during the Cold War, to the mechanisms of deterrence that have so far prevented the unthinkable. Others warn of the dangers of complacency, of the hubris that can lead nations to stumble into wars they never wanted. They point to the rise of nationalism, to the erosion of trust between nations, to the unpredictable nature of leaders like Putin and Xi Jinping. The truth is, no one knows for sure what the future holds. The path to war is often paved with good intentions, misperceptions, and the law of unintended consequences. But there is another path, one less traveled, but no less real. It is the path of dialogue, of diplomacy, of finding common ground despite seemingly insurmountable differences. It is the path that recognizes that, in the 21st century, security is ultimately intertwined that the greatest threats we face, climate change, pandemics, terrorism, require global cooperation, not confrontation.